Oh my goodness. Couldn't be more excited. We have the newest addition to our marketing department. Riley, we met. How long ago did we meet?
Did you come in December when we integrated? I don't think that you did.
I didn't come into set.
Oh, wait, actually, you were the first person I met from Alpha. You and
He
you
often
and
is,
Becca.
actually. Yeah.
Because so my dad didn't tell us anything about Alpha.
Right.
He just was like, "Oh, we're doing some new like marketing and commercials." And so
I'm
that's
the
how I
marketing
met you,
commercial
but
guy
I had
who-
no
yeah.
idea who you were. I was like, wow, this is like really high tech. We've never really done anything like this before. We must be
quality
like,
stuff.
yeah, we must be doing really well.
Yeah, this was partner 6, correct?
Partner 6, yeah.
So partner 6, I remember, trying to keep a low profile and wearing a hoodie and just kind of being like,
wearing a hoodie,
play it. Just
was it an Alpha
just play
hoodie?
it clueless. Like I'm just gonna show up and get to know the team, shoot the team, and at the time that I had met you.
Mm-hmm.
Daughter of the Ed Williams. I remember at the time you were just like starting to work with Williams Center, and your role was a sales role within the Do line, like the skincare line.
Yes.
And your dad pulled me aside and he's like, she's a rock star. Like she's a rock star. My whole family's a rock star. I'm like that's awesome. Well, guess what? Not wrong at all. And I remembered like you were, I don't know if a needle ever plunged into your forehead, but you were acting as a patient. Yeah, in that
I
shoot.
may have needed a little Botox. I feel like you always need a little bit. So I may have been like, yeah, let's do a lip flip or something.
Right, exactly. So I remember us meeting and little would I know.
That's so crazy to think
that
about.
Like now, 2 years later,
Mm-hmm.
not only are we sitting here having a conversation about marketing, but the scale at which this conversation of marketing is much greater than it was back then.
Definitely.
And your role, right, has completely evolved. So starting at this skincare sales role, and then moving from skincare sales over to marketing within the practice. Or maybe first it was more of an operations managerial role.
Yes. So first I moved into that clinic. We were in the Latham clinic, an assistant manager position there. And then I moved to clinic manager and then moved into marketing. So if we had been having this conversation when you came then, I probably wouldn't know what I was talking about.
But also along the way added a new location.
Yes.
Which in a lot of ways was like a repurposed location, but still by just the nature of what that location now does versus what it did when you were first starting was by and large adding a new location. So given that background, now your role is supporting marketing alpha-wide to every partner. You have a very important background and voice and intimate understanding of what this is like at the clinic level. And, Mitch, you and I have, been working for a while with every one of our clinics. So we know what's going on, but we're also, a couple of guys that that like spin up different cool ideas in the background, but it's always invaluable to have somebody that can be like, no, this is what it actually feels like. This is, and today our conversation is going to be very, very much aligned with this idea of like, no, this is what the problem feels like. The problem that we're addressing today, we're pulling it into marketing, though it often starts and exists in operations. The problem is a capacity problem. And the capacity problem arises when there is, say, a new clinic location that's opening up. It arises when there's a new provider opening up, when there's new hours that are opening up. We're going to extend a day. Was this stuff that you experienced with Saratoga Springs location for Williams Center?
Yes, every day was a new
How are we going to do this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want us to kind of get into the role that marketing plays in this and strategies to support the now what that takes place with capacity. And as is always the case, there's reactive marketing. Like, think the guy bursts in the door and is like, oh, geez.
Like the Kool-Aid commercial.
Yeah, Kool-Aid guy bursts in the door and is like, marketing, figure it out.
Yeah.
And we're like, stop everything we're doing to figure out this problem. And then there's we actually know, we can anticipate that we're going to have a capacity problem coming up here. What are some reactive things that can be done? And I'd love, Riley, for you to educate all of us on how strategies that worked, prep strategies that didn't, and again, the role that marketing plays in the capacity problem.
Okay. I'll do my best, Kevin.
Okay, perfect.
Well, I think when I think about capacity, what you tend to see in clinics, it can go one of two ways. Either one, they're wanting to generate more revenue. So they're like, let's open up another day. And most of the time, that's just not the right answer. You need to focus on your utilization. And so when we were in Saratoga, when we opened our new clinic, we started with a condensed schedule because right off of the bat, we wanted to make sure we were at least at an 80 to 85% utilization, and then we could talk about opening up more days. So I think sometimes we'll think, oh, well, let's just open up another day, and the patients will just magically come out of thin air and we'll be full and we'll generate more revenue. But you're neglecting the whole operational aspect of it. So it really is, when you talk about capacity, it's marketing and it's operations together. The operations have to be perfect, as perfect as they can be.
Right.
And then that's when it's marketing's turn to come in.
Yeah. Well, and perhaps this is me from like a content standpoint, but like I look at the role that a content strategy plays in capacity as being like, man, we got to start sharing that early and often, right? And so from like let's fill the slots, and like just the idea of like being reactive over a capacity problem, which it feels like it often becomes that. It's like, oh shoot, we're open and we have slow books, or we've got this provider who's seeing nobody on this day, and why do we open this place in the first place? Like there's that, but then there's also we know that we're going to be opening. Let's start pumping out content. How early did you guys start pumping out content? And do you feel like it was early enough to start notifying everybody, new location, new hours, new provider?
I think that you can never, I personally don't think you could ever do it early enough. I think we kind of got a little bit of a late start, but that was just because of the situation we were in. We had one injector who was coming back from maternity leave. So basically she had left another practice, was waiting a couple of years to join our team. And so when she came back from maternity leave, that's when we were opening. I hired her. I had my interview with her in January and we opened in April. So it was a pretty quick turnaround. And thankfully she was well known. She was very well loved. So there were a lot of things that we did to get patients in the door right away. I can talk about them if you would like.
Come on, let's hear it.
So one of the things that we would do, and this is kind of building the location up too, but the friends and family. So offering friends and family to come in, experience the clinic. If they liked their experience, which most of them did, they would leave us a Google review, which was great. And you can offer some kind of discount to them because it's their first time as a patient to us. They're not necessarily new to the provider, but they're new to the clinic. And then another thing that we did, because there would be days we would come in and we would have no patience. So we'd just look at each other and be like, all right, we got to come up with a plan for the day because we can't just, sit here all day and not do anything. But the bottom line is our Google business says we're open Tuesday through Thursday from 9 to 5. So we need to be here. Thankfully, the location we were in was, there's so many local businesses. So we just printed out business cards. Myself and the injector Ingrid, we would go around and introduce ourselves to other business owners, introduce ourselves to their clients. And then that was a great way to just refer back and forth. So those were some things we did early on just to get patients in the door. And then the next thing we did is when they came in, like there's no way they were leaving without a appointment rebooked. And I can so vividly remember one patient being like, do you have anything in July? And I pull up the month and it's just every day is wide open. I'm like,
let me look. Hold on. Give me a couple seconds here.
What day were you looking for? You know, and I'm those days you're just trying to get every single patient in, give them the best experience, and then, you know, rebook them. And
that's so funny you say that. It reminds me of the scene from I'm gonna date myself. I just turned 40. We haven't said that,
birthday.
But yeah. No, thank you. Anyway, but I remember the scene from Ghostbusters. It's like the first call that the Ghostbusters, whatever business got. It was like this girl working phones, and she's like, "We got one!"
Yeah,
and they all rush to the scene.
Yeah.
But in some ways, you look back fondly on. Like
I feel like
time,
I can remember every single one of our first 20 patients.
Yeah,
because we walk in, you're like, you're our
best
first
friend.
patient.
They're
You know,
my
it's
best
like
friend.
everything is perfect.
You like bring them a towel.
Yeah.
And like a drink,
Yeah.
and then you sit and watch them while they're sitting in the lobby.
Do you need anything? No. 10 minutes later, still good? You sure?
Yeah, right.
I'm available.
Yeah.
I think that what you said was really important, which is that starting phase is really uncomfortable where you actually have capacity. And I think that patients can kind of feel that if you aren't careful, right? You almost have to fake it until you make it. And starting with a low capacity is, I think, a very strategic decision that not everybody does. And what it does is, you know, from psychologically on the marketing front, it allows us to do some cool things, which is, our capacity is maxed out until XYZ.
Yeah.
It's like, well, they don't know how many hours we have open, right?
Yeah.
But being able to have that messaging starts to build demand. If you have wide open schedules, people's questions are often, well, nobody else is scheduled, so why should
Right.
I don't know. Is this a risk, right? People want to go psychologically where they see everybody else
is
going.
All the
Right.
cool kids are. In this case, 10 of them that we
Yes.
remember. But that's
Yeah. And then expand as you go, right? Because like even you talked about that awkward situation where you have wide open schedules. It's like, how do I fumble out of just saying like, does Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 8 to 5 work for you?
Anytime in there, we're here and we've got nothing.
We're here
so
for
just
you.
let me know.
Riley, was there anything that you did during that time that was a huge effort and didn't produce any results? Like looking back on it, because you kind of said
what are
like
the
you
high
kind of did
leverage?
everything that you could.
Yeah.
But was there anything you'd be like, that wasn't worth all of the work that we put into it?
Geez, I don't think so. I mean, I think we were very intentional with everything that we did. I think sometimes there would be maybe not influencers per se, but there's someone you think like, we're going to get them in and then everything's going to be great. We've had a couple that have been absolutely amazing, incredible.
Yeah.
But there were a couple very early on that now looking back, it's like, I don't really know that we got much from that, but that's okay because we learned from it, you know, and now the partnerships that we have with the influencers we work with are great.
There's so much to say about influencers, right? Everybody's got like stories about influencers that don't influence, like that, like it's like, how are these people real?
Right.
Whatever. But I think that's there's risks that are involved with that too. I'm so glad that you brought that up. How big is the influencer network?
It's really not very big. The one that
because Albany is popping.
Well, I don't know that I would say that, Kevin. I don't know that I would say
Latham,
that.
to be specific. Saratoga Springs is different.
Yes, Saratoga's different. We work with a couple in Saratoga. One, the Buttonista, is amazing. She
Hold on. Say that again.
The Buttonista.
Who's the Buttonista?
So they have, I've done work with them before, but their brand is called 2 Buttons Deep. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
Okay.
And it's just like, they're getting 2 buttons deep. And so she's the Buttonista. And so it worked
That's
out
cool. I
perfectly
like
though.
that.
She had a baby and then she was like, I'm going to become a hot mom. And so we were like her first stop to becoming a hot mom for her to get her Botox
That's
and
so
lip
fun.
filler.
That
Yeah.
is so fun.
So let's talk about some KPIs for a second.
Okay.
At what point?
Nerd.
Don't got the glasses for no reason. So at what point do you know, what's the trigger point of it is time for us to open up new hours or get a new provider? Because I think kind of a thread throughout this conversation too is, you know, when you have capacity, you want to make sure that it's filled. So you don't want to overcommit on extending too far, but then you also don't want to leave money on the table by not opening it up when it's time.
Definitely. We had a very strategic plan, and that was first we had our injector, then we would eventually bring on an esthetician, and then eventually we would bring on an RN that would potentially do more of the skin treatments and laser treatments. So when we started with our first nurse practitioner, our goal was we were open Tuesday through Thursday, every other Friday. Once we were seeing 80 to 85% utilization, that's when we knew, okay, maybe we can open more days during the week. And then once those days were full, and not just one day, not just a Tuesday or not just a Friday, because those were always our busiest days, but every day needs to be 80 to 85%. Then that's when we decided, okay, let's bring in an esthetician. And then once we brought in the esthetician, we started kind of not necessarily bundling their appointments together, but rather than having the medical assistant go in and like take makeup off or anything like that, the esthetician would go in, introduce herself to the patient, and then offer them, because her books were pretty much completely open too. And so saying, I have some openings next week. If you'd like to come in for a Diamond Glow facial, I'm doing a promo right now. It's $199 instead of $250. So that was a way that we got the two of them to really work well together. But
I love that.
You really have to look at where your utilization is at, and not just a couple of days. It really needs to be very consistent. Okay, we're getting pretty busy. On the flip side, you don't want to be booked out for 6 weeks for Botox or filler, because we know patients aren't going to wait that long. They're just going to go somewhere else. So very fine line between, making sure your books are full, but not too full. And then you're losing your patients.
I'd love to hop back into specifically like the strategies that marketing played, and again, maybe some opportunities that marketing in your eyes should, out of the whole experience, should have played moving forward, like some different channels that maybe were underutilized. And so, yeah, I think about, I mentioned like a content strategy. Of course, we're considering that to be in social media. And I guess we'd assume that Google Business Profile is all set up, and that where hours are listed, those hours the correct hours are reflected. But once other channels started to pick up, once you started sending out email, right? Once you started perhaps running paid advertising, do you remember each one of those channels, when they were used, and what channels were really effective for what? Or was it all just kind of like, at the sound mixing board, turning every fader up full blast, like, come on, baby, let's get this machine going?
Well, we were in a very unique position because we were also doing a full build out.
Renovation. Yeah.
Yes. And our permits were supposed to take 6 to 8 weeks. It ended up being 10 to 12 weeks. And then you're just, at the mercy of these contractors that are, working 8 to 4, and then they're piecing out. I'm like, wait, no, we're actually supposed to open next week. So if you guys could just, maybe stay a couple hours later, that would be great. But I think we probably could have started some of those efforts earlier, but it's so, hindsight's 2020. It's easy for me to sit here now and say, oh, we probably could have started that a month earlier. We probably could have started that a couple months earlier. And now with our new CRM system, we could have pulled better segmented lists. Okay, these are all patients that live in and around Saratoga, of a 25-mile radius or further north. We know it's such a far drive for them to come to our other location. We didn't really have the capability to do that at that time.
The sophistication.
Yes.
Yeah, totally. When you think about now there's capacity, what, and again, the role that marketing should play, what amount of marketing to provider versus marketing to treatment?
Oh, this is a great question.
Yeah. What's your take on that?
So I think first you need to market the treatment. And then when patients are calling, that's when you're marketing your provider.
Why do you say market the treatment first?
Because I shouldn't say no one, but not many people are going to look up provider's name, Saratoga. It's going to be best lip filler near me.
So you're thinking SEO related.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That in the discovery phase, patients are coming in because they're wanting to they know the treatment they want. Okay, I know I want Botox, or these frown lines need to go. And that's what they're looking up. They're not necessarily looking up. I mean, when we look at SEO, they're not saying best injector near me. They might, but it's much more rare. And then that's when it's time for the sales team, when they call, to credential the provider, credential the practice. Now you have that trust, and then they come and experience it for themselves. However, the provider should be marketing themselves on their social media. We've kind of told them, like, that's your
domain.
That's your domain.
Yeah.
You use your Instagram the way that you want to, so that if patients do look something up and they do find you on our website, and then they go to your Instagram, they can see your portfolio and all of your before and afters and patient testimonials. Do you disagree?
I've
No, I completely agree. I think that what you market where, again, is kind of the overarching, if we zoom out a little bit, because we talked about search, right? So
yeah,
you are absolutely correct that nobody's searching up, Brenda, and they don't know who these people. They just are looking for a solution. The only thing where I have found it to be helpful is if we're doing paid ads, to have a face attached to it, right?
100%.
That's what I was going to say.
Of those.
We've talked in earlier episodes about provider-centric marketing and the results that we have seen come through, and the reasons why provider-centric marketing is maybe a not great idea. But yeah, thinking about the trust that's required to earn a new patient, the provider being in that mix is important just across the board, right? But especially when it's a new location, new hours are open, or it is a new provider who we're trying to ramp that has a capacity issue. So really, that in that case, the question is like, are we focusing on treatment, or are we focusing on provider? You're right with SEO, but in these other channels, that's where I would think like, oh, I think that we want to be very, very provider centric. You also mentioned that in this case, the person of Ingrid was like a well-known person.
Oh yes, everybody loves Ingrid.
Yeah. So she came with a story, right? This wasn't somebody who you were investing training in to get up and ready. This wasn't somebody who didn't have experience prior to joining. But yeah, I think about the provider being the provider story being really important.
Yes, definitely
capacity.
in the paid advertising realm of things, because I think anytime you see an actual person, you already automatically have more trust, rather than just like I don't even know if you could do like a vial of Botox. Probably not. It would get taken down. But yes, something like that wouldn't necessarily perform as well.
Right. The more personalized,
totally,
the better.
Totally. Do you remember any of the stats behind like open rates of email or?
No, I don't think that I do. No, I can remember early on though, when there were days we were getting patients in, or we would look at our conversion rates on the phones. That was my biggest thing, because you can do everything to get the leads in because you need to fill the books. But then if you're not converting them on the phone, that's
a sneak peek on an upcoming episode. We're going to be talking all things conversion. But yeah, totally. I hear you saying.
Yeah, I can remember those. We'd be like, oh my gosh, we were at 80% conversion today, or we were at 100% conversion today. Like that was something that we were really focusing on. Email rates, I don't remember myself jumping up and down over click-through rates on an email.
Well, yeah, and email is perhaps going to be a big initiative for us to kind of like look at. It seems so on a personal level like such an archaic channel of like just maintenance. Like I'm going to employ an AI bot. The first thing I'm going to have my AI bot do is like go through all my email and just fix
I can
the whole
only
thing.
imagine what your email inbox looks like.
It's massive.
30,000 unread messages.
Well, it's also just like I've got it sorted right now. It's not that
It makes
bad.
sense to Kevin.
Yeah.
So
I've got it sorted right now.
Mine
And
used
there's
to
like
be that
stuff
bad.
that's getting sent to different folders, like different archived folders. Which hopefully, now that I say it out loud, I'm like, oh, I hope that all those are not sending the wrong people, the wrong messages.
The organization.
You haven't heard from me in a while, then maybe it's because
you might be in my spam folder accidentally.
Because I was really aggressive with it. But no, back on email, I think we all have this relationship to email. Like, it's been taken over by spam.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we're a business trying to use email, I think that the goal is to be as spam free as we can make it. And Mitch, you can, again, not to get too deep down this rabbit hole, but like so much of email strategy has to do with how you are approaching your lists, how you're cleaning your lists, how you are, sending to your list, because you don't want to be, spammed.
Yeah. And even promotions. Like if you go into the promotions folder, which automatically happens on all G Suite accounts, let alone
good for you.
Outlook.
But what coupon shopper is hopping into the promotions tab?
Yeah.
Just I got some new promotions here. I'm going to, no, come on.
Yeah, exactly. It is a challenge. The biggest issue for email, it is basically free. Like it might as well be free, but getting people to actually notice it, getting it to actually be delivered is probably the biggest thing at this point.
One of the things that I love about what we get to do is we get to work alongside individuals, departments on the partner side, which you've been speaking to, but now on we call it our SSO, but like on this kind of bigger, more global front, we get to work alongside a lot of really brilliant people. And marketing needs operations. Operations needs marketing. And in a way that is symbiotic.
Yes.
When it comes to a capacity issue, to approach it from that vantage place, which is like in a lot of ways listening to what each department is saying and listening to what is happening at the clinic level. And so again, this is just the benefit that we have with Alpha, is that we can say like, we're all literally stronger together. We all get to row in the same direction, but that exists also at the clinic level. And I think it's important to approach the capacity problem from a marketing standpoint, working hand in hand with operations.
Definitely.
In other words, everything that you said is it is just as important for marketing to take that on as it is for operations to take on this issue. And that's everything through a paid advertising strategy to a content strategy. And that's being involved in the conversation of capacity, because for marketing, you'll be involved at some point or another. And rather than being reactive, or rather than being like, okay, operations, figure it out. Okay, manager, come on. We're all rowing in the same direction. Capacity is a marketing problem just as much as operations.